Hello, everyone, and Jake. Welcome to Plate Stack Chat. My name is Jason, and on this show, I like to find some wonderful people and bring them out for a chat. And of course, today is no different, although one of my guests will be arriving a little bit late. But I'm very happy to bring out our first guest anyway. She has been doing CrossFit for some time. In fact, her first Open was in 2014. She's been to regionals 3 times, semifinals 4 times, and even once to the games on a team according to her bio, but actually she was an alternate and wasn't at the game that year. But she has been to the games, of course, and served on the demo team. Now, apart from that, she's also got a degree in biomedical engineering and designs workout clothes that you might see her modeling on a photo shoot at the beach if she's not too busy doing backflips on the beach, showing off her athletic background. It is, of course, the fabulous Alison Scudds.
What's up, everybody?
So you saved me with that little nugget of information just before we went live.
Yes, that is something that a lot of people get wrong because it's on my CrossFit bio. I think we were chatting before, but I think that it had to do something with that was the year of like the super teams, and so you could basically you didn't have to be at the same affiliate. You could be pretty much anybody and make a team. And I was the alternate for the Brute squad that year.
Who else was on the
And
team?
Joey Tortora. I'm gonna blank on all the other people, but it was a Brute squad. I think one of the girls' name was Emma. Forget her last name. Nicole Holcomb, I think, was on that team. I don't remember the other guy either. It was just kind of like I was a part of Brute, and I know Joey pretty well, and they were just kind of like, hey, like we have to put an alternate on. We're all intending, to compete as a team, and I think they all trained together too. And they were like just kind of like back up, in case anything happens. But they all competed at the games together that year.
Yeah, I like that. It's like, we have to put an alternate on. So will
Mm-hmm.
you do this for us? We'd like, cheers, great.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
I mean,
but
I've
you,
never like had intentions of going team, and so for me, it was just like, yeah, like if their plans don't work out, and I've actually been the alternate on Raf's team the last 2 years. Just in case anything happens with them and or me, and it just so happened to align that it worked out. But yeah, my intention has always been to go as an individual, and I'm kind of like pretty stuck and stubborn on that goal for the time
and that
being.
is still the goal, right? You're still
Yeah.
like fighting for that. Yeah,
Yep.
which is
That's right.
yeah. I have a question because obviously you've been on the demo team.
Hmm.
You've also been captain of the demo team,
Yep.
and I'm so curious as to like what does being captain mean?
You're kind of just like in charge of the group, right? Like it's a group of 6 to 8 athletes. Like when they had teams of six, there was a demo team of eight. And then when they had teams of four, it was just a demo team of six. So you are kind of like the main point of contact
Right.
between Dave or Boz, or, kind of like the rest of the other like management of the games, depending on like what you're doing. A big part of that is obviously the testing component, which I did both years, 1 year under Dave and 1 year under Boz. So you're kind of just like in contact with them. Had a lot of contact with Lucas as well, who's kind of like part of that team, and Wilson. So just kind of like relaying all the information from the team, making sure the team is in the right spot at the right time, making sure we're all, wearing the same uniform, and kind of just a person to be in charge essentially of the whole team.
Right. And that's why they got you, because they know you're the kind of person that will pay attention to the uniform that people are wearing and making sure that you're all matching. You're like, look, I've got that covered. That's
Yes.
my
Yeah,
background.
that is a small but important part of the job. And yeah, I think I, as a person, am kind of just like a natural leader, attention to detail, that kind of stuff. And so it was an honor to be the demo team captain a couple years, and it's such an incredible experience that's so unique. It's like obviously my number one goal is to compete at the games, but I think it's really cool to have the opportunity that's really limited to only a handful of athletes throughout the years.
Yeah. And I think it's a funny one, isn't it? Because obviously you're there. It's like you're there because you didn't make the games,
Yeah.
so they can invite you, right? So it's kind of like, you know, I didn't make them, but then also you're chosen, which is quite interesting because
Mhm.
it's, you know, everyone that makes it to the games, there's sort of no say on the side of CrossFit as to like whether or
Yeah,
not they want you there. It's just, well,
for sure.
you've earned your spot,
Yeah.
so you're
Yep.
coming. Whereas here it's like, no, we want you. And usually it's because you've got a particular skill set or something that they like, or they know they can work,
Mhm.
you know, they know you work well with people, whatever it may be. So
Yeah.
it's this kind of bittersweet, like, you didn't make the games, but they must like me.
Yeah, totally. There's definitely that. And I had a really, you know, kind of just circumstantial opportunity during COVID. I used to live pretty close to Dave's Ranch,
Right.
and just kind of got like I had known him throughout the years. I obviously did the demo team in 2017 as well, just as a member, not as the captain. And then yeah, they were doing kind of like the at home open, support your
Yeah.
local box, I think is what it was called. And so I got called out to do some demo videos for that. So I just had built that relationship with him. And during the 2020 games, me and my partner Raf, we were both helping him out with some of the testing of that. And because it was very hard to like fly in athletes, like it was just easier for us to drive up there. So we were really close. And he uses a few other local athletes as well. Connor and Kelly are in that area. So
So we're
yeah,
just
just kind
blaming it
of
on proximity. That's what
yeah,
it's like. It's not
totally.
that
I
like me,
mean,
I just have to
I'm
live
sure there's
close.
other factors, but that was, you know, especially the COVID year, the 2020 year, like that's all they could do. You know, it's hard to get athletes flown out and what's or not. So that kind of just like naturally happened. And then after the 21 semis, when I didn't make it, it was actually like the day after the semis. I was still in Vegas before we lived here. And I got a text from Lucas and he was like, "Hey, so Dave wants to know like when you can start testing."
Nice, yeah. Well,
So
let me just get over this first of all.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't want to interrupt the flow too much, but I
Yep.
see that Mango has joined us, so I've ruined
Okay.
my intro here. But anyway, please welcome our other wonderful guest that we have. She's an incredible French athlete. She's competed at the European semi-finals the last 2 years. And last year, we might have seen her doing some strict ring muscle-ups with a taped-up elbow because she's a warrior and doesn't want to quit. And just like Alison, she too can't resist showing off some flips and tricks, showing off her athletic background. And she's also a cat mum as well. So please welcome Margaux Masset.
Hey, thank
Margaux,
you.
welcome.
Hi.
Thank you
Hi.
for that. And I also know that you have a deadline that you have to shoot off a certain time. So if we haven't finished before then and you need to leave,
No, I
just
will let you know.
just say, I'm out of here, guys, and we won't be offended.
Yeah, no worries.
Right. Quick, as we've had this quick break. Okay, so let's just address some of the chat quickly before we move on. So something I missed out of Alison's bio was that she's also done Grid League.
Mhm.
And that's and Augustus is claiming that's why you've been invited on the show. And I'll have you know that it was actually during a show that I found out that you did Grid League because someone so I've been having a lot of the Grid League athletes on recently.
Okay.
And I actually had Mava on last week. Someone like jumped in on the chat and they're like, "Oh, it's another Grid League episode." And I was like, "Well, don't worry. On Monday we're going, you know, proper CrossFit. We're going to have Alison on and then I said, well, actually, fun fact, she'd done grid in the past. I was like, okay. So I found out after the fact. It's a happy coincidence. Oh, what's this? Also, have you ever?
Actually, hi, Alison. I have never seen you before. So.
Yes. Hi. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
And you're in
Well,
France?
Sorry?
You're which part of France are you in?
Yeah, I'm in Lyon, actually, where the semifinals were. The
Oh,
European
okay.
one. Yeah,
Nice.
I live there.
That's great.
yeah. I thought it would be nice to get someone that had also done semi-finals, but that you definitely hadn't gone against.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so like, you know, and convenient for the time difference. So Mango's like an hour ahead of me, and I'm multiple hours ahead of you. But I thought this will sort of work out nicely. So it's it's a rest day for you, though, Alison. You were saying like this is a perfect day for you. It's just chores and that. Margaux, you seem super busy today. you're like, I've got this until this time. I've got that. I've got a window. I've got a call at 9 o'clock. I actually thought maybe getting you on at 8 p.m. was going to be late because quite often the athletes are like shutting it all down. Yeah, like anything after 7 is like ooh. But you're still going. Hold on. And sorry, Jake's asking an important question. Is that a Gymshark top? I might buy that for my wife. What's it called?
Yeah, it is. I think he was talking about this one, right?
Yeah. He's talking about your one. He wants to know the name of the shirt, if you know the style.
I cannot just say it right now. I'm sorry, I don't know. It's a body, actually.
It's a body. Okay, there you go. Jake, do some of the work yourself. You know it's Gymshark. Go on the website. Pretty sure they're probably having a sale or something. Okay. And Margaux, I'm guessing, has never done grid because she lives in France, and so that I think is pretty safe bet. So we were talking about the grid league that the pro one was in America. Recently, it's been very restricted to Florida.
Okay.
And so I'm pretty sure you haven't ever done that.
Yeah, but France is like so late on everything. Like it's insane. I'm sorry. So. Yeah.
I actually had Dmitry Klokov on my team though, so they were when it was professional, they were definitely recruiting internationally.
That is true because I know I know
but that
Annie
was just
and
a short flash in the pan. Yeah.
Well, maybe it's coming back. Who knows? Jake wants to bring it to the UK, which I love.
Yeah. I think it's an exciting sport. I just don't think that they've figured out a way to make it make sense for the athletes to make money, and it was like privately funded before, and I think they tried I don't know anything about the specifics of the financials, but it seemed like they tried to do too much too soon, like renting out Madison Square Garden and stuff like that. It's just like it can be exciting, but
I think they've they kind of went maybe too hard too fast, had a bit of a reset. Most of it disappeared, and now like the Florida one has now become united and is expanding a bit more again. And it seems like they are more cautiously pushing forward, but also doing some big things. And it'd be nice. I think I'm a big fan of just anything that kind of gives athletes or people the opportunity to kind of do these sports, and then also, if you want to get better, maybe go do CrossFit. That might help you. I'm like a big fan of that. So I think it will, if it drives people, if people, find that and then find CrossFit, great. If they do CrossFit and they're like, I haven't really found comps that are good for me, or I prefer, I'm really good at this, but I'm not good at other stuff, and it's sort of a little niche they can fit into. Brilliant. Like it's something for them to do. I enjoy watching it. I'm not going to do it because I'm sat here in a chair in the comfort of my home in England, so it's not happening. Okay, I'm going to not respond to everything Augustus says. I know he's trying to rile me up, but he was asking if it's an insult to Margaux since she didn't get an invite. But actually, Margaux, how long have you been doing CrossFit? Because I was looking at your stats. You've not been doing it that long, have you?
No, actually, no at all. And my studies are kind of fake because I started CrossFit 3.5 years ago, and we just asked me to do the opens maybe 4 years ago, but I was not in CrossFit. So it was my ex-boyfriend, and he was like, "Oh, I am doing CrossFit. You will be so good in it. Just do it." And I was like, What are the opens, And it's like, just do it. So I did the open and had never, I didn't know what was CrossFit at this moment. And it was like rowing and wall balls. And I was just kind of shut. I was like, should be fine. Like, it's not complicated,
That's my worst open workout they've ever programmed is the rowing and wall balls one. I hate it.
Yeah, but when you never done CrossFit before and you're like an athlete and you're like, okay, I've been doing gymnastics, I've been doing track and field and surfing, so come on, it's gonna be fine. Oh my God. That was I was like, okay, I should try for that.
No, that was I'm one of the shorter athletes anyway, so that was like all the things I don't like, and then wall balls anyway. I'm just notoriously bad at. You were saying that was your worst one as well, then, Alison?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think that was, also the year after the first year that they had direct invite to the Open, and I had done pretty well on the open the year before, and I was like, okay, this is like could be my shot. And then that workout came out. I was like, never mind.
Yeah, that was one of the workouts where you really saw like those names that would be at the top of the leaderboard that you never saw again.
Yeah.
Remember, you see like all these people, because it was the first workout, wasn't it? So it was like
Mm-hmm.
you had all of these amazing rowers like
Yeah.
finishing so high worldwide,
Mm-hmm.
and then the second workout comes out and they all disappeared. But
Yeah.
a few people hung around. But yeah, that was very much not for me. That one. What's your favorite open workout? You've done so many of it. When it was 2014, your first open.
You started in 2014?
Yes.
Oh, okay, right. Oh,
Yeah.
oh my God. I didn't know what was CrossFit in 2014.
Yeah.
So as you said, France was late getting everything.
Yeah.
HTC.
My favorite open workout. Oof. Well, the one I did the best in was the dumbbell squats and burpees. Like I love a short sprint workout. I think that was 2018 actually. That, I was saying that I had done really well that year in the open. I think that was my best finish ever, but anything that's kind of like short like that, some gymnastics, love that. I really liked a couple of years they did like a few ladders that were kind of like you had to do stuff in between. Like 17, there was like a snatch ladder. PR'd my snatch that year, so there's a couple good notable ones in there.
Yeah, I would ask you, Margaux, but you've done so few open workouts, so
Yeah, it's really
Yeah, now
hard
there are
for
only
me.
3 workouts, so
yeah.
It's really hard for me to answer because I mean, I started like 3 years and a half ago, and I was like, every year I was looking at, like training on new movements, and I had to like, have new skills and everything. So every time there was like a new workout, I was like, I hope I know how to do this. Like for example, like when I went to the Madrid Championship the first time, and I had to learn the ring muscle up 2 weeks before going to the elite individual Madrid Championship. So it was like crazy. But the open will be. I really don't know. I don't know. I think I kind of like I am a robot. So every time I see something, even if I don't like it, I like it. It's crazy.
yeah. I
Right.
think
know
you
what I
have
mean?
to as a
I try
competitive
to don't have
athlete.
emotion. Yeah, I try to don't have
Yeah.
emotion. And also because when I have something that I like so much, it's not where I am the best sometimes because I am like, oh my God, I'm so good in that I forget sometimes to be, I don't know how to say that, but very technical or, like very precise. And when it's not something I'm supposed to be like great, sometimes I do good stuff because I am more smarter and I think a little bit more. So now that I get it, I'm just trying to not be emotional at all. Like, yeah.
Okay, Mango
Yeah,
the
I think
robot. That's the new thing, right?
I mean, I think most of like high level athletes will tell you the same
Yeah.
thing. It's like you have to like the workout is what it is and you just have to do your best on it. And
Yeah.
everyone is going to have different strengths and weaknesses that they bring, but you have to, just like Mango was saying, like strategize to the best of your abilities, especially in something like the open where there's literally thousands of people doing it. Like you're not
Yeah.
trying to race, and you're just trying to maximize the best you can do for a specific set of movements and workout.
Yeah, and also like since maybe 1 year, because before when I started CrossFit, open was amazing for me, like I was like, oh, I want to do something good. But since last year, like I did one shot and I didn't even strategize anything because in my head I was training for the semis,
Yep.
for the quarters, So I was like, oh, I want it to be done no matter what. I think I was just 10th French, like 10th best French, which is not good, but I didn't care. I was just focusing on what's going to happen next because I remember that two years before when I went to the semifinal in Berlin, at this moment I spent too much energy on my opens to try to do like better thing, but then it's energy that you lose in your training and you could be already training and focusing on something else that is bigger. So you just have to put your ego aside and be like, well, if I'm good at that in one shot, that's fine, that's cool. But if I'm not, who cares? Like, who remember? Like, oh my God, you did that for the open, yeah, but you didn't qualify next. What the fuck? No.
Yep.
Where do you sort of like? So when you're approaching a season, where is your focus then, Alison? Is it a similar thing? Are you like, pretty confident that you can make it to semis, you know, like not phoning it in, but you're sort of like, I know I can give the right amount of effort because I'm pretty sure I'm going to get it to semis, and then I can really focus in on semis? Or were quarterfinals quite, you know, quite a serious step for you where you're like, I need to really focus here because I've got to make sure I get to semis? Because I remember speaking with different athletes like in the lead up to it, and particularly like those coming from Europe, there was a lot of like quarterfinals, we can't make mistakes because there's only the one semi-final now. It's a very, you know, a competitive field. Obviously, you've got 2 semifinals in the States, but still, there's a lot of good athletes there. So
Yeah, definitely. I think that my mindset going in is not that you're giving less effort, because I think anytime I'm doing something, I'm giving my full effort, but more so about like the peaking of the season. So like during the last season, I spent a lot of time focusing on my strength, and so I was coming into the open like having not done really a lot of CrossFit. And so it's just like, that's just where I was at. Like I was still trying really hard on all of the workouts, but just like Mango said, like just do it, give your best, and then move on. Like you're not redoing them. You're not like overly analyzing every little thing. Like it's important to have a strategy, but like you only have so much effort or so much like basically F's to give, you know what I mean? Like, so if you're spending all of this stress, like trying to like totally maximize and squeeze out all your potential on the open, it's like you could just save that energy, focus it on your training, which is going to help you peak for either quarters or the semifinals. As far as quarterfinals, every year that they've had quarterfinals, I've made it in, you know, like fairly easily. But yes, this year they reduced like by a lot the spots that were going. I think we had 60 in the years past, and or in last year, and then before that it was even more because there was more semifinals. So each year it gets more and more competitive. So that was definitely on my mind. You know, it's like you can't just like go through the motions like you do in the open. Like you definitely, like I redid a couple of them, and it was definitely a lot closer. But I think big picture, season wise, like, yes, I'm trying to peak at the semifinals. I've been competing at the semifinal level for 9 years in a row. And so I kind of knew like that's where I need to be the best version of me in order to try to break through to the next level of the games.
Yeah, well, I guess what's nice as well for you, having done it so long, and even, you know, at the level of like semifinals and regionals, is there's always that fear of like, oh, am I slipping back? You know, am I getting better? Am I getting worse? Or are the field getting so much, so far ahead of me? Like I catch them. So when you get to like redo a workout like this year, and you can do better, like that's got to, you know, be a real kind of. It's not just that, you know, it's like you can retest a workout at home, and maybe you improve on what you got like at a semi-final or, you know, a regional of years past, and you're like, yeah, but it was also completely in my control. It was my environment. You know, I'd set it all up. Whereas when you get to do it like live there, kind of in the moment, that's got to feel pretty good about sort of being able to see exactly the progress that you're making.
What event specifically are you talking about?
So didn't you do better in the snatch?
The snatch ladder. Yes. Sorry. I thought we were still talking about quarterfinals. I've actually got to do the snatch ladder 3 times.
3 times.
Now. Yeah. So the first time they had it was at my very first individual regionals, which was 2016. And then I did it at the West Coast Classic in 2021. And then again this year. Yeah. So that was definitely, and that had been kind of something that I've been working on as well, as like strength and heavier bars. So to see like that big of an improvement on that was awesome.
Yeah. And I guess it's not just that you see it, but everyone gets to see it. So that's quite nice.
Yeah.
It's like you get to share quite a big moment.
For
and,
sure.
You know, there's all the people love to kind of throw out the stats and follow, like, oh, she's really, because I think you were the only person to, because there were a couple of people that had done it twice. I think you were the only one that had done it 3 times. So like
not in the world. There had been quite a few who had done it 3 times.
Yeah.
But maybe the only one at the West Coast.
Oh, maybe then.
Semi. I'm not sure.
Well, anyway, still impressive.
Yeah, because I can't think of that. I think Paige Semenza might have also done it 3 times. I think she was
Okay.
at that semifinals. I think there was a couple
Ladies figure?
guys too. No, I don't think Danny did regionals in 16. I could be
Okay.
wrong though.
Yeah, because I
But
think there were a few
I
that
know
had
there
either
was, I
done.
think there was like a known and knowable post about all of us who had either done it 2 times or a few of us who'd done it 3 times. But I think there was a handful of us who were at that West Coast Classic as well.
Yeah. Well, it was a good event. It was fun to watch. But I'm happy to just sit back and watch and let you guys be impressive. I'll be like, okay, yeah, good. I could lift that. I had another question and then I completely slipped from my mind in the time between. Jake was talking about the muscle up. Oh, did Ariel do it 3 times? Ariel Owen?
I don't think she was doing CrossFit back then, but
No, she might have done it
I don't think
twice.
so.
I also
No,
don't
'cause
think she was at the West Coast Classic.
That's true. Yeah.
So that year in 21, not everybody did it. Each individual semifinals had their own
Yeah.
programming. So it's like you had to be at the West Coast Classic, and there was 3 other North American semifinals that year. So it was kind of like
Yeah.
a little
So
bit luck of the draw.
so you have to have been doing it long enough to have done it that first time. You have to be at exactly that semi-final
Yeah.
the second time, and then everybody did it. Obviously this year,
Right.
so everybody that made it to semi-final did it.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Okay, right. So I think that's enough of that. That's enough of the past. Let's talk about the future. Let's talk about what you guys are doing now. So I see that you're both heavily in your training sort of now anyway, even though the games is over. I think I saw a post from you. Maybe somebody was asking like what comps or something you were aiming for, like with the rest of this sort of the rest of the year. Did you make like are you at Wodapalooza? Was that one that you're planning to go to, or?
For me?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm sure I
No,
saw
I'm
you
not.
put like have a story or something about some events that maybe you were.
Yeah, so there's a Wadapalooza coming up in a couple weeks. I'm not attending that
Not going to
one.
SoCal. No,
Sorry?
the SoCal one. Yeah.
Yeah, the SoCal one. I'm not attending that one. I don't have currently like plans to do the Miami Wadapalooza, but I think I've done it almost every year since, because I used to live down there, and it's a really good competition. But I feel like something always kind of comes together for Wadapalooza. Hopefully a team or something could be fun. As of today, I don't have like 100% concrete plans. I'm really focusing on some off-season training to get like quite a few months. I started with new coaches midway through last season, and so it's been nice to just have some like big chunk of uninterrupted training. I'm considering doing the Rogue qualifier, which is I think this week, and then potentially there is a competition. If that doesn't pan out, there is a competition in Puerto Rico that I might do as well in November.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Is there any chance we'd see you at Rogue even if you didn't qualify? Would you fly over as a
No.
spectator or like any
Definitely
activations
not.
or anything? No, definitely not. Why not?
Well, I
You want
just
to be in
don't know.
Scotland in November? Oh, it's gonna be.
I mean, I would love to go to Scotland. I've never been, but it's a very long and very expensive trip, and so I wouldn't.
Just like when we have to go to the Miami for Wadapalooza, it's the same.
Yeah, and I don't think that there's as much of like brand activations going on there. If somebody wanted to bring me out, I would love to, but yeah, there's the competition in Puerto Rico is the same weekend as that, and so that's a lot closer, and there's like prize money and stuff, so hopefully it's also my birthday week, so
right. So it's the difference of like spending a lot of money to go somewhere, or
exactly
potentially you getting some money and going somewhere. Yeah, that makes sense. I can understand, but I'm over here on the other side of the water with Mango being like, no, this is great. It's a convenient trip for us to go and see.
I mean, it looks like it's going to be so
CrossFit.
Awesome. That's why I want to try it. Like for the qualifier, obviously it's super competitive, but you never know how it's going to work out.
Oh. Are you trying the qualifier for Rogue, Mango?
Actually, I'm doing the qualifiers for Dubai, and yeah, if I go to Dubai, we said with Michael that there's no point I do both, because the thing is, when you do a lot of competition, then your training you need to rest a little bit after the competition, because even if I feel really good physically sometimes, just like, the nerves and everything. So yeah, I mean, in my mind right now, it's very clear. It's Dubai, and yeah, I think it would be like a good opportunity for me, because it's the first time that it's not invitation, and as I was not known and I haven't done the games yet, so I didn't get any invitation before. So when they said, "Oh, we're gonna do qualifiers," I was like, I'm here. I'm gonna do them."
It's quite interesting to hear it from the other side, because we hear a lot of like, oh, like people quite like this sort of invitational thing, or like you having kind of your CrossFit resume almost, and then being able to get into competitions without having to go through all the qualifiers. And it always seems that qualifiers are quite often, it's video submissions, and there's always little issues that come up and things like that. And it does make sense to a degree, because you've got athletes that have got an impressive history of high level competitive CrossFit, but then you do get people coming in that are also incredibly fit, and it's sort of like, oh, we've got to make sure that they also get a fair opportunity to. But I mean, obviously there's been so much drama around the games this year, and then competitions, like not wanting to any longer be licensed CrossFit events and things like that, and it's very easy for people to kind of build up a lot of drama around this event's no longer licensed kind of thing. But actually, a lot of these events weren't licensed when they started, and then the licensing came in like as a sort of an optional thing later, and now they're just sort of returning to what they were before. So it's only really the games themselves, they sort of stand alone now as this one thing, but there's a lot of great competitions that you can still get to. Some choose to use the games and opens and semifinals and stuff like that as metrics, but not all of them do, and some are maybe going away from that now.
In Dubai, a lot of people are complaining sometimes, about the organization and everything. But at the end of the day, it's the same people are still going to this competition every year. So I think it's because also there is a lot of money. And I'm not gonna lie, like I am working like a lot next to CrossFit. I do maybe like 5 hours a day at least of training, sometimes a bit more. And I still have to work like sometimes 3 jobs. So if I have a competition and I can win money, just, I mean, not just, but because I win an event or something, like, man, like, like, I mean, it's good to also have like, sometimes a competition that give you a little bit of money because you will qualify. So, you don't have to pay the travel, like you just have to pay the hotel, because for the moment, like I don't have any like sponsor who's paying anything to me. So Dubai is the first competition that offer you like money if you get qualified, and just like at the end of the day, like it's also important, like it's a bit, it's very important, I think so.
Yeah. So that's sort of, you've got, you were talking about like also nerves and anxiety, and it's like there's the nerves of the competition, but then there's also the, I'm putting a lot of money in to get to this event, and if I don't get a certain position, I'm not getting any money, so I'm going to go home, worse off almost. So like having that guarantee it's got to be quite nice.
I mean, when I did the first semi-final in Berlin, I didn't know if I would go like even a week before the semis, because no one knew me, so I had no brand, no one could help me, and I was like, okay, man, like I need to put like 2,000 one shot right now, and so I just think it's important to talk about it and just be like, well, money is important for athletes because you're really happy and glad to see them like performances and like the performances and everything. But don't forget that it's very stressful. And I mean, if you have to do like 3 jobs, and I already had like a job, I had to sleep at like 2 a.m. and I woke up at 7 a.m. every morning to go to training. So this is just because I know what I want, but this is not something healthy. So I could just do this for a few months, but now I had to stop it and find another job, which I have now, so it's good. But just to let also people know the truth about CrossFit and the fact that, oh, you did the semi-final, you're gonna have sponsored. Oh, you did the semi-final after only 1 year and a half of CrossFit, you're gonna get sponsored. Yeah, but where are they? So it's not my job. Like I'm not someone who's gonna be like, oh, I like your brand, just give me some money. And I really think that it's gonna come when it have to come, and I don't want to sell myself. I mean, I want my performance to sell for myself. So if I haven't done something that crazy for now, I accept it. I will work my ass to it that has happened. And the day it's gonna happen, I know it's because it's worth it. So.
Yeah, that does sound like a crazy schedule, though. When Alison reacted when you said that you were getting up at 2, she was like, "Oh, that's that's not good." I mean, you've kind of gone through all of that, I imagine, Alison. When obviously you've been around for a long time, and you've been in, I guess, being one in the US, being two kind of closer to, you were mentioning before, like with the fact that you're able to go over and like test workouts and things like that with Dave, just due to kind of proximity, you've maybe had some opportunities, but you've still got to like make the most out of them, and sort of,
for sure,
which in of itself is like an additional job, right? So you're kind of having to train, maybe.
So you're not like 100% professional, like you still have like a job next to that?
No, I'm a full-time athlete, and I've kind of made money various different ways throughout the last 10 years of being a CrossFit athlete. So I graduated college in 2015, and then that's when I started Grid League. So I was making money through the Grid League for the first couple of years. And in addition to that, I was also coaching, personal training, programming, helping out with my gym at Peak 360. And then as I competed more and more, just the landscape also of sponsorships has changed, of course, in the last 10 years as well. I think that even within these last like 2 years, I've noticed a really big difference in the sponsorship just landscape, and I think a lot of other athletes have as well. And yeah, kind of like you were saying, Jason, it really, you do have to treat it like a job. And a lot of these companies, sponsorships, most of them, unless you're Tia and Matt and like, the top, like they're investing in athletes to be part of their marketing strategy. Right. And so it's like, you have to sell yourself, in my opinion, and everybody's going to have a different route that they want to make money and make it work. But for me, it's like that I have always, understood that to be like, this is part of their marketing. And so like, how can I bring value to these brands so they will give me money? And, I like to keep it as, totally authentic and organic. And I've been really lucky to be able to align with brands that not only align with my personal values, things that I honestly use, recommend and things like that. But I've also been fortunate to have some like opportunities, like you said, that I've really tried to get as much as I could from. For example, like one of my former apparel sponsors, I designed and created an entire clothing line. And so I was able to like, hey, like, not only am I bringing you the notoriety of being like an athlete in the CrossFit space, but I'm actually, working for you. I'm designing clothes. I'm creating storyboards for the creative aspect. I'm organizing photo shoots. I'm finding models. I'm sending, like packages to my friends and other people and promoting it very naturally that way as well. And so just finding opportunity, like they're not very common like that, but when you can, just trying to maximize that small platform that we have. It is really tough though, and it's like I said, the landscape is changing. And I think when CrossFit was kind of like 5 to 10 years ago, like Instagram was like most of their like number one marketing thing, and now it's just a lot more saturated, and brands also go through ebbs and flows as well. And so the whole like influencer marketplace, I think, is starting to change as well.
Yeah. I mean, do you find it hard to, I mean, I'm trying to think, we had someone on a little while ago, we were talking about posts and stuff like that. And it's kind of like trying to strike the balance between being, as you said, like authentic, posting stuff about yourself, because obviously you've got a lot of people that are following you because they, I mean, and I guess even the sponsors, they want that it's people care about you. They like you. And if you say, hey, I really like this product, the idea is well, I like Alison. I think she's got good tastes, and if she likes this, then maybe I'm going to like this, and
Yeah.
that's sort of, or even as superficial as I really like her, in this thing, and I hope I look as good wearing that, so I'll get it. That
Yeah,
kind of idea, right?
for sure.
But at the same time, if someone's scrolling through your Instagram and it's just post after post of buy this, buy this, buy this, then it's like, well, I don't know if I really do like Alison, because it just feels like she's always trying to tell me to buy stuff. So like trying to
Yeah,
strike
definitely.
that balance of personal stuff where people will be like, okay, this is someone that I like and I want to follow and I'm interested in their journey.
Right.
And then also, I understand she needs to make money to do this. And this is one of those avenues. And I'm not going to be kind of, because some, I mean, there are some people that you follow their Instagram and you're just like, I might as well just follow the companies, because every post is just buy this, buy that, this product, that product. And I know what happened was I was following some advice from someone about, commenting. I was really bad at interacting on posts. Like I would see things and I'd like mentally take notes of stuff. And, so when I was speaking to people, I could bring it up. But I didn't comment on people's posts. I didn't really like them much. And, I was just sort of lurking. And I made like an active thing of, no, I'm going to go through and I'm going to make sure I, leave a comment, but not just like a thumbs up or a fire emoji, but like, no, I want to be able to give something of value on this, in this comment.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, oh wow, it's hard sometimes, because if all the comment is buy this protein powder, it's really hard to be like,
to interact with it, right?
to interact and be like, oh yeah, I really like the scooper. Like, it's like, what am I gonna say? It's like there's nothing to say here. But I've seen, like, especially recently, you've put up a couple of like really interesting reels and stuff where you've been talking about like your physical transformation that you've kind of gone through over the years. You've talked about trying to get out of a rut and get back into training, and I mean, you've just moved house as well, which is one of the big stresses of life, so I can see that kind of knocks you off your game. And then I think even maybe yesterday, the day before, there was one about kind of being kind to yourself and not being too. So I think people see that, and there is a lot of genuine, authentic Alison there.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that feedback, because it's definitely a balance, like you said. And I think something that I kind of like realized a while ago, and I try to come back to, is like, you have to like, I'm a person, right? And then I have kind of like a brand of myself as well. And like for me, my brand is very authentic. Like some people have, different personas and stuff like that, and that's totally cool. But for me, it's like I've always wanted to be authentic and like have certain values that I try to, put on display, I guess. And, I love inspiring others. So inspiration and kind of like that realness of like, hey, like I'm a professional athlete and I still get stressed out and I still have these moments of like, oh, like getting back into training is super hard. Like I'm not, textbook robot or something, where it's just like, all right, like right back to it. And so like sharing that realness, I think, is something that people really appreciate. And just, trying to do the same with my sponsors as well. It's like, these aren't just like companies that are giving me a check. These are products and services that I actually use and find value with and want to share that, because they've brought me value outside of, being a sponsor. And so that could potentially help people as well. So that is kind of like, those are some of my values and things that I try to portray. So I appreciate that compliment.
Yeah, I think that it's important so that people don't forget that we are athletes, but we are also women, and we have a life next to that. And sometimes, it's kind of like, well, if you want, I mean, if you've done the games multiple times, you can do things and people won't say anything. But if you're good, you're very good, but you haven't done, I mean, this level yet, and you're doing stuff, then, you can be judged, and anyone who's going to be judged anyway. I'm just saying that, I mean, there is nothing bad of doing something that have nothing to do with CrossFit too sometimes. And I mean, it's part of our life, and actually it's reality, because I'm sorry, but we are not 24 hours and 24 hours in a gym. Like, we are a lot of time, for sure. Like, really.
23
but,
hours.
22, yeah, but we still have 2 hours. So I think it's just so important, and I think there is nothing bad about that, because, I mean, we are athletes, but we are also women. And I think that it's part of ourselves, and it's kind of sad if people only see us as athletes too. You know what I mean? Because it's not who we are. It's what we do.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that people know that and know that we are humans, and of course, like, we are up and down too. And I just think that we can show whatever we want on Instagram, but I think that if it's a balance, as she was saying, and I would agree with you. I think it's good that sometimes, you just show like small stuff, and sometimes you show big stuff if you want, but it's part of life.
Yeah. But I also think, Margaux, you've got quite like similar to with Alison stuff, where I kind of know sort of what to expect from the things she posts, and I can see Alison in it. I can see you in a lot of the stuff you post as well, because I know, like, so the first time we got to speak was we had like a roundtable discussion after Rebecca Vitterson got injured at semifinals, and there was like Bill Grunler and I think who else was there, John Young and Mike Halpin, known and knowable. So we were all on talking about, what CrossFit should do, and like what should CrossFit do if an athlete is injured and they want to continue and stuff like that. Anyway, and speaking with you, like, it was very clear, like, I got a really good impression of kind of, you are an athlete, like, you're absolutely an athlete. You've got this sort of killer instinct when it comes to like training and competing, and I mean, you've even said it today, like, I'm a robot, I'll just do what I'm told to do and get and I got that from you. And then since then, I've seen the stuff you post up on Instagram. It's like, I see when you're training, I see that you kind of you really love training, and then it's all like the kind of party tricks you've got that you love throwing out there as well. And then you're also, I mean, don't take this the wrong way, you're also very French. You're a stylish French woman who likes the life that France offers as well. And so you see, and let's not forget, you've got a cat.
Yeah, he's not here today. I'm so sorry.
Who also features heavily in your stories and things as well. But
yeah,
like, if you were posting up kind of anything within those different worlds, whether it was even like something to do with fashion, something to do with training, to do with like gym wear, it wouldn't surprise me, and I would believe it. I would be like, yeah, I'm absolutely convinced that she uses that or she likes that. Like, because but it's also genuine. And you're saying about like, it's not just training, and that was sort of, I mean, it doesn't always work, but that was the idea of this show in general, and why I always wanted to get people that weren't like training partners or weren't kind of best friends on at the same time, because they'll ask each other questions that maybe I won't think about. But the idea was, can we learn something about people beyond what we see them posting on social media? Because it's very easy to.
And then I think it's just gonna depend also of the person. There are some people are like, they're shy or whatever. Like, I've done acting before I started to do CrossFit, and I had to do a choice actually between starting an acting career and starting a professional. And I'm saying professional because I believe that it's gonna be a professional one, athlete career. So for me, like, I don't mind showing, I am very like easy with the camera, like, it's not something that makes me scared. But some people don't like it, and it's fine too. Like, it's just like, there is no good or bad thing. I think you just have to know yourself, and you just have to do you. And if you do you, so if you're super shy, for example, and you do a video and you're super shy in it, then you play with it because you're shy, and it's fine. You assume it. It's gonna be great. And if you're like, open-minded and talkative and everything, you can play about that you too. As long as it's yourself and you know what to do. Yeah, I just think that.
Yeah. But I think if you're really shy and you play up to that, I think it's similar to like with Alison's videos and what she was saying about, yes, I'm an athlete, but I still get in a rut. I find it hard at times to train, and other people will look at that and be like, oh wow, she feels that way, and even though she's at this level, and I feel that way even though I'm down here, that's great. There's this that bonds you, right? There's this sort of common ground. And it's the same with somebody who's very shy, and you think, oh, I can't believe they go out and they compete with all these eyes on them, and yet they're so shy and timid in the camera. Oh, that's amazing, because I'm really shy. I struggle to speak up at work, right? So I always think it's really good. Oh, sorry, I've got to address it. So Augustus, your question wasn't bad. I've seen it. I'll get to
Yeah.
it. When I mentioned about trying to add value, he said, that's how I feel about this show. I tried to provide value. So I appreciate that. He'd asked you a question. Now, little background here that you won't know about, but Augustus he's asked a lot of questions recently, and somehow they keep being featured in like the clips that I'll put up for the show. It's quite often that a question he has asked was the catalyst for it. So that's maybe why he's questioning his ability of question writing today. Anyway, he had a question for you, which was going back to competition, I'm afraid, even though we'd moved on from there. Would you rather have home run events that you win easily, but then workouts that you'll be bottom 10 at, or be 8 to 20th on every workout?
Whichever one qualifies me to the games.
Yeah.
No, but I think that, yeah, I mean, I think everybody wants to have that home run event, right? Like that's kind of that feeling of like, there's nothing else like it, right? It's like winning an event or like being, top in an event. But I think with the points, scale, it's like we're all trying to just like optimize those points. And so like oftentimes, like the games, for example, you aren't able to make it there and have that home run event unless you have kind of taken care of most of your weaknesses. And so I think, at least for me, like trying to be more consistent among more events, and just like the natural inclination to be able to have those home run events. Like I wasn't born Danny Spiegel or Alex Kazan, so I'm not going to have like those, strength events. Like for me, that would be more like high skilled events, but those really only come up at the games. And so I have to be good enough across the board to make it to the games, and then potentially have those like highly skilled home run events.
So it's that middle of the pack through semifinals and then a home run at the game. That's the correct answer. Okay. And what about you? Is it similar, Mango?
Yeah, I mean, give me a hurdle, 400-meter hurdle, and I win, I would be happy. But then, like, it's just like at the end of the day, I want to make sure that I qualify or like I do the best in the competition I'm doing. And if I can win a competition without having an event win, I would be so happy. So yeah, this is how I think. But of course, this is just amazing. I think it's an amazing feeling, and I really want to have an event win, and I'm working on it because I remember when I did the Magic Championship the first time was I don't remember his name. Matt's brother, his manager is
Matt O'Keefe.
Yeah, he was here, and he was the one who did. Who created the competition. And he came to see me, and he was like, "Oh, this is your first competition," and I was like, "Yeah," and he was like, "Oh, but that's really good," and I said, "Yes, one day I'm gonna win one of your events." So since this day, I'm like, every competition I'm doing, I'm like, "Oh my god, I need to do this." I said I will, so I don't have no choice now.
So you've set yourself that goal, an event win. I think though it's funny, isn't it? Because it links back as well to like marketability. And it's that irony of like getting that, middle of the road, but qualifying for the games, or even doing it at the games and getting quite a, top 10 finish at the games, but never really being on the camera versus that sort of, you mentioned like Danny Spiegel does one really big lift. And not only does that get a lot of attention then and there, it's clipped and it's shared and it's a reel and it's like a really easy kind of thing that will be shared around social media, which if you're then trying to promote yourself and be marketable, it's like, look, here's a great, here's an example of when I went to an event and it got shared by, all these millions of people.
Yes, and I think that Danny specifically and other athletes who are in those positions like do more to take advantage of that. And so I think there's a lot of, there's probably a lot of event winners out there who have done something like that we don't know that much about because maybe they haven't developed their personal brand in a certain way. And I think there is a lot that goes into it, just kind of like we were talking before, and being strategic taking advantage of those opportunities that you've either provided for yourself or happenstance, you know. And so I think
But then,
I as far as like the athlete and like sponsorships, I'm kind of like see both sides, you know. It's like I think that as an athlete, like you have to really focus on being an athlete, but you also have to like give yourself the opportunity to be able to make it work for you. And at the same time, like those, I'm not saying that like everybody gets those opportunities, but I think there's, you know, kind of like a camp of people who say like, oh, it's just because one thing, you know, like, oh, she can win an event or something like that. But it's in reality, there's a lot more strategy and intention, I think, that goes into it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
yeah, we'll never judge about that too, because I think that it's just a choice, you know. I mean, if the athlete want to be like one shot good on something, you know, and only want to train on it, and she knows that, you know, she can have like all the major and everything. I mean, it's her choice or his choice, you know, and I don't think there is any good or bad thing about it. But at the end of the day, if you want to qualify for the biggest competition, you have to be good in everything. So I mean, if you're already in this level, it's because you still have a good level next to that, you know. So
Yeah.
it's just like you have a big skill. Okay, let's go. You know, show it. I mean, it's your moment. What, you know? Yeah, this is my way of thinking. It's just like you're good in it. Okay, let's go. It's your time.
I also think it's good though, because like if you are like a home run hitter on something, and I don't want to keep using Danny's example, but like, you know, you know she's going to do well in like the big lift, but then when she does well in a workout that maybe had a lot of running or something like that, and she's been working on that, that's great because it gets attention as well, because you're
Yeah.
known for something else. So like that's
Yeah.
really nice. But then going back to the other thing you were saying, so it's like, yeah, absolutely, like you get those opportunities, but that's just one piece of a much larger puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, it's again very easy for people to sit back and maybe criticize, you know, oh, you know, look what they're doing on social media, or look at this or look at that. But it's sort of like, well, at the moment, as we've said, the money isn't there within CrossFit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you want to be an athlete, and you want to be an athlete primarily within CrossFit, you're going to have to find ways to fund that. And
Yeah.
for some, that's I work 5 days a week at my local affiliate. That's how I afford to train and do everything.
You find a way.
And for others, they've been able to say, well, no, now I can do, you know, I can earn the majority of my money online, doing these other things, doing things with sponsors. That enables me to train. And that's where I think we'll start to see more of a kind of divide almost, because, you know, years ago, nearly everyone was working part-time and training, and that was quite common.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously as there becomes a divide of people that can be kind of full-time athlete, it's going to be, it's still hard work, like it's incredibly hard work, but
Yeah.
it's they've got the opportunity to train more, to focus more on their training, to, you
Yeah.
know, to sleep when they want to sleep, to kind of control all these elements that maybe someone who's on a work schedule that is controlled by someone else, they just
Yeah.
don't have that freedom. So I think and, you know, and there's no pension scheme in place for CrossFit athletes at the moment. So I think we, you know, do what people are going to do what they've got to do if they want to continue
Yeah, and I think that people will
doing this
judge at
life.
the end of the day to just lose energy, you know, and time for that. You
Yeah.
know, it's just like it's just choices, and as soon as people assume their choice, then it's fine.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
just happy
that's
that,
probably the case in a lot of sports too, you know, obviously on a different
Yeah.
level, of course, but somebody like Tom Brady is going to have every type of resource at his fingertips and the money to do whatever he needs to do to optimize his performance, right? But then if you're just
Yeah.
kind of like coming into the sport, obviously NFL is kind of like a weird example because a lot of them make pretty good money, but not all of them are, you know, multimillionaires. And so making the choices, like Mango said, to like set yourself up to do what you want to do. Like I think I'm kind of like in that place currently, you know, like I've been competing at semifinals for 9 years now and haven't, you know, have felt like I've tried to put things in place in my life where I can optimize everything to my best ability to put myself in the best physical and mental place to do the best that I can because I'm super passionate about training and competing in CrossFit. But, you know, you have to intentionally make choices to not do other things like make more money or, you know, it's certain things outside of the gym. And I think as long as that is like, you're constantly like reviewing that and like, oh yeah, like I do want to make more money, but I'm choosing to do CrossFit. And so like that option is still there. But like, I remember that I chose to do this path. And as long as you're still like aligning yourself with that, I think that that is a good, I don't know, way to go about. It's like,
and it's taken you time to get there as well. Like it's not that you started CrossFit and day one you had all of these opportunities and all of these sponsors and you could, you know, live the life, you know, balance you wanted. Like it's taken a long time to get there. I mean, we were talking the other week with Chelsea and Roderick that are, you know, both doing grid, but they've got that gymnastics background, and they were sort of saying about how if you come into CrossFit and you've got a gymnastics background, it's almost like this sort of, oh, it's easy for you because you've got, you know, it was so easy for you because you've got this background in gymnastics. And they're like, we were in the gym for hours and hours every day, you know, growing up, training.
People forget that. You're like, oh, you're so lucky. Oh my God.
And so
you've been an athlete your whole life, you know, you've been
exactly. And I think it's similar. Like someone could look at you as something like, yeah, but you know, you've got great sponsors, or you know, you were saying about you've got sponsors that align with you know how you feel about things, and that you're really happy to promote because, and they give you great opportunities to kind of do what you want to do. But that wasn't day one. Like you had to build,
and it's still not day to day. You know, like it comes and goes. It's not like, oh, you get to a certain point and then you've made it or something. It's like an ongoing thing. Like these companies come and go. Like they're you know, looking to invest, not looking to invest. They're you know, struggling with their own stuff. Like it's a constant thing, and it's never guaranteed, and it's just kind of like an ongoing thing.
But I think that when you're passionate, you always find a way. Like, for example, when I said just before that I've been working like 3 jobs, if you would tell me that before, I'd be like, oh, you would be training 6 hours a day. First, you're gonna be working in so many places. I would be like, what the fuck? Why would I do that? But if you really want something and you believe in yourself, you can do everything. It's just like, it's going to be hard. And what I'm saying to people is just stop saying it's just determination. No, determination comes from maybe 2 days a week. And sometimes you're tired. Sometimes you feel your legs so hard. And it's not determination that make you, you know, going to the gym at this moment. What makes you going to the gym at this moment is the why. And if the why is so important, then you started to put your emotional side on, your emotional side of it. And I think it's really good to be emotional. I think it is. And we should not forget about that. And also, like women, we have cycle. So we don't have to forget that our emotion can be affected like on cycle sometimes. But I think we have to know when those emotions should not be here and when they should be here. And as long as you can control this, I think you can do everything. Yeah.
I'm not going to disagree with you, Margaux. I'm not brave enough to disagree with you. So yeah. I don't know. I think it's just funny, isn't it? Because CrossFit is like the world of CrossFit is just. It's also one of the things where like within CrossFit, someone can be incredibly famous. Like everybody knows them. But then you like zoom out from CrossFit and it's like, well, in the grand scheme of things, maybe people don't know who they are. Like it's not, you know, even podium athletes that we would think we would all know. It's like, yeah, but just walk down the street and ask someone if they know them, and compared to like other things in life where people become famous, it's sort of, it's all relative. Like, so, but you know, then also there's some great brands that really, you know, I think the other good thing about CrossFit though is that even if you've got like less followers or less people than maybe another, you know, big sport, people that do CrossFit like people that follow people that do CrossFit, they do CrossFit themselves. So, you know, they do want the workout gear because they're going and using it compared to sort of people that are like watching, you know, NFL, and they're like, yeah, I watch it, but I'm not playing. I'm
it.
I'm not fit myself, sort of thing. So
Yeah.
And even there, like the aspirational level of like looking up to your athletes and being like, oh, I want to do what they do. Like we do what you do, just to a lesser degree, to a slower and lighter degree generally. So I mean, and the Open is a great example of that, right? It's this mass participation event where we can all kind of do the workouts, and you're like, great.
Yeah.
I've been like doing, what was it like, what year were we now? 24, isn't it? Like the 24.1, and being like happy that I finished it in the time cap. And then you see like Colton's performance and you're like, right, okay, so yeah. That's the difference between us, right? That's always good. Love this. Where is Mango from again? Grid? Question mark? No. So I've got a stereotype right now. No, she's from France, from Lyon, and she's been on before when we were talking about injuries after the semi-final. And I'm sure she'll be on again in the future when she's finally won that event that she was eager to take out. Anyway, it's been lovely chatting to you both.
Yeah, and to go now.
I know Mango has an important business call. Hey, maybe it's that big sponsor finally calling. That's what we're hoping for. And Alison, you've got chores, you said today?
Yeah,
this was like your rest day.
Yeah, rest day chores.
Any exciting chores, or are they all
enjoy?
Oh, you're leaving. Bye-bye. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so I'm just going, and it was really nice to talk with you today.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Bye.
Bye, Mango. Take care.
Yeah, I'm just kind of not finishing, but continuing to finish to put the house together. Got like boxes and crap all over here, if you can see.
Where did you move to in the end? Sorry.
We moved just to a different part of Vegas. So we were in one part of Vegas, and we moved to a different part of Vegas to be closer to the gym because we were a pretty far commute. We were like over 25-minute drive each way,
right?
Which was not ideal.
That's so funny to hear someone from the States say that, because like we always get called out over here whenever we consider something to be far, because we'll be like, oh, that's quite far. And then someone from the States will be like, what are you talking about? That's not far at all. And like, I remember somebody when there was Fit Fest in Birmingham, and they were like flying over from the States. I said, oh, you're going to be there. You're going to be there. How far is it for you? I was like, oh, it's quite far, but it's about like a 2-hour drive.
Yeah.
Like, 2-hour drive is not far. Like in England, a 2-hour drive is considered very far.
Yeah.
So what are you talking about?
I think it's relative on what you're talking about. Like something that you go to every single day, sometimes twice a day, 25 minutes is very far. That's like, it's over an hour in the car. And, you only got so many hours a day when you're trying to sleep for 10 hours, eat, 3,000 plus calories, train for.
That's 10 hours. You get to sleep that long.
Got to.
My daughter will come in at, so I have to get up like 6 a.m. anyway for work and stuff. But like any day that I'm not working, I'm still up at that time because my daughter has decided that should be the time we all get up. Sarah is saying that she can walk to her gym. I too can walk to my gym. It's like literally a 5-minute
I3
walk.
can walk to my gym now. So
wonderful. Which gym are you, is that? Who was it that asked? Somebody did ask if it was. Here we are. CrossFit. Are you Underdogs Vegas or Proven Vegas?
Oh, I'm actually neither Vegas. So I moved to Vegas to train with Justin under Underdogs, and then I had mentioned earlier that last year I got a different coach working now with David Spur and Jeremy Meredith. They're both remote coaches. They're in Canada. They work with Brent Fikowski. And it's just been
with Shelby Neal as well?
Shelby Neal too.
Yeah. Okay.
Jeremy doesn't work with Shelby, but Brent does. Or David does.
Yeah. Okay.
So but I still train with Alex Kazan, and my partner Raf Durand. He's still training under Justin as well.
Right.
So
is it? So are you still? Is it CrossFit Rhino then that you walk to? Oh,
yep.
Nice. Okay.
Yep.
So don't say any more because we don't want people to find you. But
yeah, exactly. It's a far walk. It's like a
yeah. I can walk there because I'm an elite level athlete. So.
Yeah, exactly. I put on my rollerblades.
Do you really? Because I'm sure I've seen you. I'm sure I saw a post of you in rollerblades when I was trying to find a picture for the show.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
Yeah. It indicates like 6 hours of sleep. Well, yeah. It's a man that
Yep.
that runs his own business, you can tell.
Yeah, I mean, obviously some athletes like Mango was saying can she's only getting like 4 hours of sleep, but as far as like doing it for 10 years, recovery is a very important part of that. And I think that's, something, obviously my goal is to make it to the CrossFit Games, but something I've always admired about other athletes is like their longevity in the sport. And so that's something that's been very important to me. And, I'm very much pro recovery in all regards, because I feel like CrossFit is one of those sports that like you have to, it's like the best athletes are the ones that can recover the best, from even just movement to movement, but day to day and week to week and whatnot. So
that's where you see like the drop off, right? Where you see somebody who's like, that's usually, when you say like, oh, this person, they always smash the online stuff, and then they kind of,
for sure.
And quite often it's that,
It's a
right?
part
It's
of
like,
it.
when you've got a week to do a workout, and then the next one, and then the next one, you can, versus, oh, you've got this one, and now hold on, in an hour you've got another one, or in 2 hours, or whatever it is, and then multiple, like the games test you over multiple days, no chance to recover.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting aspect of it too, and that recovery is super important.
This is an interesting comment from Jake here. It says, when my wife was prepping for London 2012, she was in bed by 7 p.m. for a 5 a.m. wake up 6 days a week. I don't know if I could go to bed at 7. But again, my children wouldn't let me. So
I mean, a lot of people have like other circumstances that wouldn't allow them to do that. But I think if you were, your why is different than, being a full-time athlete. And so you're like, well, I have kids and I have
very different
work
from being
and
a
I
full-time
have
athlete.
other obligations, and so I think that when you're an athlete, like I was saying before, you just decide like, this is important to me, and so I'm going to make it happen no matter what.
Yeah. I think it's great what you're doing, and that you've been able to do it so long. And you were saying like, if longevity is important to you, you're absolutely on the right path, because you've been doing it at the level you have for 10 years. And I also think you're one of those people that there are a couple of you, not many, but there are like a few of you that I think people would have to double check if you were saying like, do you know that Alison's hasn't been to the games yet? So they'd be like, are you sure about that? I feel like, are you sure? So
does it really matter in the end? Right? Like that's something I've been journaling about. Like, and I think as an athlete, you go through a journey of like why you're doing what you're doing. And, like, I think everybody who does CrossFit is like, I want to go to the CrossFit Games and like win an event, right? Like that just sounds so cool and fun. But then it's like, you realize, oh, what does it take to like do that? And then most people are like, nah, I don't want to do that actually. And so like coming for me, like I think all athletes go through like some sort of like identity crisis almost, unless you're like insanely talented and you do it on your first go and whatever, which I don't think happens super often. But even so, like those athletes, once you make it to the top, there's always something more, right?
Or you've got to stay there. That's the other thing, isn't it? It's
that's
like
the more too, right? It's like, okay, I got to do it again then. So I think that it's normal to like kind of experience like that value of yourself as an athlete, and getting that like mixed up in your performances. And so like I think something that's really helped me like the last few years to kind of keep going and feel like excited about what I'm doing still is just to like, it doesn't really matter if I make it or not, like it does. And that's my goal. But like, that's not the only reason I'm doing this. And like, if it were, I probably would have given up a long time ago. And I think for me, it's just like, I really enjoy the training. I really enjoy competing. I really enjoy the community and getting to be connected to CrossFit and the sport. And so like, I want to make it to the games, but like, is it really going to change my life if I do? Probably not.
I guess it's one of the things I find really hard to speak to athletes about, because they, this like outlook is so different athlete to athlete, right? Because for some, if you even hint at like it not being the be all and end all, it's like, what are you saying? Like, this is everything.
Yeah.
You're telling me I'm wasting my life. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm just saying, it's great what you're doing. Everyone loves what you're doing, kind of thing. I mean, I think like Fee was another great example. I had a lovely chat with her, and she's someone else who's got like this kind of great mentality about how she handles the situation and how happy she is with what she can do and how much joy she's getting just from training and just from being a part of the community, which is another like funny, because for me, like even with this, I kind of always set myself this goal of like, I don't want to be somebody who talks about CrossFit more than I do it. So if I could do these shows every day, that would be fun, but like usually at this time I'll be at the gym. So this is sort of, and the CrossFit Games could disappear tomorrow and I really wouldn't care as long as I could still go to my affiliate. Right. And the majority of people at my affiliate would not know that the CrossFit Games had disappeared because they don't follow the CrossFit Games at all. So it's like, I'm very aware of how things, and there have been times where I've like stepped away from doing any of the YouTube stuff, or like I just needed a little break because sometimes it can be quite negative.
Yeah.
But I never stopped going to the gym. And it was because when I would go, it was so positive and it was always such a nice experience and everyone was happy and we were having a good time. And then I'd like listen to a podcast or something and everyone was moaning and complaining. And, and I was like, this isn't so, as much fun, sort of thing. And I mean, it's such a out of context comment, but it was funny. I was listening to the Coffee Pods and Wads with Brent and Belner, and he'd said, and they were talking about about Dave's position and how Dave is like saying, Dave could go and do something else within CrossFit for the affiliates or for the whatever, and like that wouldn't affect us. And it was this statement of because we're not really like linked to that sort of thing. And I was like, it's true. Like it's 100. I get what you mean. Obviously that these things are different. But when you hear it kind of put across like that, it's a little bit like, it's a shame, isn't it? Because once upon a time it was super linked. Like, most of the games athletes owned affiliates or worked at affiliates, and then it's sort of now you kind of have those are still heavily involved and train at an affiliate, and those that are sort of a bit more like, I'm an athlete, I do my own training, I do my thing here and I go there. So and I'm not saying like one's wrong or one's right, but I think those that are more involved in the community maybe are more positive just in general, and it's not, the podium isn't the be all and end all because they get a lot of value elsewhere as well. But I
think that people can be like, I think what you're saying is like that, like people have different passions in different areas, right? And so like for some athletes, their passion is to be involved in the community as well. And maybe they, like myself, I love coaching and helping people and using the knowledge and, stuff that I've learned to help others. And I've done that in an affiliate setting, right? But for other people, they might have different kind of like side hustles or like things that they are also passionate about. And I don't think that like having one is necessarily better than the other. But I do think it's important to have other things outside of CrossFit. But it is tough because it's more than a full-time job. It's like a ton of hours in the gym and then just as many hours outside of the gym, and not only just like what you're doing, but like your mindset and stress and because we're constantly putting so much stress in our body through training. It's like you can only handle so much stress. And so it's like when you're going through something like a move or like family stuff, it's like that stress is going to be there inevitably. And so like you have to actually allocate resources to like lower that kind of stress so you can stress yourself more during your training to get better.
And
so
I think
like
I need also to add and say, because I don't want anyone to like clip this and take the wrong way, is that obviously I also think all those athletes that are primarily athletes and not as involved in the community still like the community, still value them. And I was thinking, last year at FitFest, Brent and different ones, they actually ran like a training kind of day for some of the spectators. So and they can coach and they can teach and they get involved, but obviously they also don't see the kind of those stories of people who are changing their lives because they're training every day in an affiliate, and kind of the positive impact it's having on them in that way. Like they can do a great coaching session at like an event, and they help the people in the community, and it's the people that want to be there, and it's their fans and all of that. I just think it's a little bit different from the other side, but not that has any more value than, as you're saying, if somebody's got something else they're super passionate about, and maybe they're working for a charity that's got nothing to do with CrossFit. It's we don't even know about it, but it's where they're spending some of their time and energy, and that's what brings them a sense of joy and purpose beyond a gold medal. Like,
for
great.
Sure. Yeah, and great. I don't know I didn't see the podcast that they were on, and so I don't know the context that you're speaking of, but I think that
I took it out of I took it out of context in the sense of it wasn't about that, but it was just that throwaway line where
it felt like
I'm then
that
like
was a bigger message.
Not even that it was a bigger message, but more just that I'm quite analytical when I hear things as well, and so I kind of can then take that and be like, well, that's true. What it's a throwaway line, but it's true. And then I'm like, and what does that mean? And I sort of start to look at everything else. And I mean, Sarah's saying neither of them have taken the time to take the L1. So there we go. That's another element. But
is that true?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, but yeah, either way, like I don't think it matters whether they did or not. Like it's like you're not criticizing NFL players for not coaching their little leagues in their communities. It's like I don't think that the sport, even though the sport kind of started from grassroots, like the CrossFit Games was just your local like hot shot kind of thing, and is now developed into somewhat more of a professional sport. Like I think that's a good thing, and I think that you can have them both separate. And while it's great when they are involved in the community, I don't think that it should be like a requirement. And
I think
the more the professional the sport can get, it doesn't take away from the other stuff. Like it doesn't have to be the sport versus the community. It's like, no, I think when the sport grows, the community can grow, and vice versa.
Yeah. I sometimes think, like, if it hadn't been the games, if Rogue had just come along and been like, we're going to hold an event and we're going to invite all the best people that do CrossFit to this event because we think it would be really cool, and it had grown that way. And so CrossFit was the training methodology, the L1, the L2, the everything they do for the community, like all of that in one camp. And then competitions, like Rogue was the games, basically. That was or anybody else. Like a lot of these issues wouldn't be issues, because we would just be like, oh, this is just a sport that people do, and generally the best people have come across from CrossFit because that's the modality that is being used in these events. And I think it's just because there is this blurring of the lines between your affiliates and the sport and everyday coaches, and then your elite athletes, and then Janet that comes in twice a week with her mother, like whatever, that kind of thing, that it just makes it people become more passionate about how heavily people are involved in the community, because it's such a
but I feel like thing. I mean, I'm not trying to just go against what you say, but I think it's an interesting debate of like, I think that those athletes existing, even if they have no firsthand experience helping the community, I think just those athletes existing is helping the community, because you're providing this like pinnacle, like you were saying in the open, to be like, oh, like I know I'm probably never going to be like at that level, but that's just super cool to be like, I'm kind of doing the same thing, and I want to get better, and I want to be healthier. And so I think that those athletes existing is a net positive for the community, even if they don't, haven't spent $1,000 to take an L1. Like, I don't really think that even if they had done that, really adds to the community either.
No, I mean, I think like, multiple things can be true, right? So there are many people that, and myself included, like, so my in to CrossFit was basically we'd moved. I lived in Italy for many years. We moved back to England, and in that time we we'd had a baby, and like life is very different. And my wife was sort of had become a bit more sedentary and she wasn't really happy with how things were going,
Mm-hmm.
and wanted to do something. And it was coming up to our anniversary, and I was like, right, for our anniversary this year, you can pick anything you like, any kind of like you want to do swimming, or you want to do like some kind of dance thing, or you want to do
Mm-hmm.
like any fitness thing you want to do. You pick what you want, and I'll pay for a year. And that's like my gift this year.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like you pick what you want?
Mm-hmm.
And we were looking at different things, and we found CrossFit Bath.
Mm-hmm.
And so we watched some of the CrossFit games, like on I think it was probably on Netflix. It was maybe a
Mm-hmm.
documentary at the time,
Yeah.
or on YouTube. I can't remember. But we watched that, and she was like, "Oh, it looks really cool." Like
Mm-hmm.
knowing that she'd never be able to do any of that stuff. But
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, that looks really cool."
Mm-hmm.
And so but then we went to do, and so initially it was for her, right? She was going to do it,
Mm-hmm.
but she didn't want to go on her own, because she was a
Mm-hmm.
bit like, "Oh, I don't want to go on my own." So we went together, and we met Ollie Mansbridge, who's is the European now he's the European manager for CrossFit. So he's visiting all the affiliates there. Before that, he was the UK manager. And like, CrossFit Bath has been running, it's like a 13-14 year affiliate. So it's,
Mm-hmm.
pretty established, and
Yeah.
and it's very kind of CrossFit. And
Yeah.
so I had sort of like coming in from having seen the games and wow, that looks exciting, to then very quickly being with someone who is sort of a, OG of CrossFit and the
Yep.
methodology, and has knew Greg, and knows Dave, and has had like experiences with these people and stuff. And it was and then I've gone from there, and we continued over the last like 10 years or whatever, which has been not 10 years, a bit less than that, but like that's been sort of the experience I've had. So I absolutely believe that, oh yeah, you can see the games and be like, oh, that looks cool, I want to give it a go, and that brings you into CrossFit. And you can be, and we've got a lot of members that just they've never heard of the CrossFit games. They have no idea what it is. And it was something completely different that brought them in. And then even there's people like, that we used to, where the gym used to be, there was the kind of the loop that we'd run for the 200 or 400 or whatever. And the number of people I'd spoken to afterwards that had found CrossFit because they'd seen people running and just wondered what they were doing, and they found it that way. So it's like, all of these things can exist at the same time and bring people in. So I think it's good everywhere. But I do think that just people in the community feel more of a sense of ownership of it because of it being the CrossFit Games, and I also am in CrossFit, and or I'm an affiliate owner, or I'm a coach or whatever, compared to if it was just another name, but it was for all intensive purposes also the CrossFit Games, but it just wasn't called that. Then I think some of the kind of feeling we'd have about it would disappear a little bit. I don't know. Oh, hold on. We've got greetings from No Shortcuts
Ivan.
Fitness.
Yeah. Ivan's a friend of mine. We became friends through Twitch, actually.
Oh, really?
During COVID, me and Raph started streaming a little bit on Twitch, and
what were you streaming?
Gym. Just us working out.
Like it was workout stuff on Twitch.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what regular people that were on Twitch were thinking.
I mean,
majority is like video games, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of different.
I know there's
stuff
a lot of
on
other
Twitch,
stuff
but the main thing, yes, for sure, is video games.
Because I think that's quite a contrast, probably, to what you guys were doing.
Yeah, I mean, it was super fun, and I honestly think that there's something there. I don't think anybody's quite figured out how to do it well yet. But it was super fun, and we met like quite a few people, like Ivan, who we became friends with, stayed in touch with, and but yeah, there's of course people on there that are like, do a push-up. You're like, okay.
I'll do 20.
Flex for me.
Yeah.
Kind of like dance monkey kind of type of stuff. But so yeah.
Okay.
Gonna get to my chores, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's what we said 20 minutes ago. I was like, okay, you're gonna go now because you gotta do some chores. But I think that last part of the conversation was really interesting, actually.
Yeah, I agree.
I need to go and watch Savan's podcast with Saxon Panchak because they talked about that. So I haven't seen that yet, but I'll probably get to it. Well, I usually listen to more of the podcast. In fact, I put this out as an audio podcast as well. I don't think many people listen to it compared to the video, But I do that more because I'm somebody who can listen to things when I'm working, but I can't watch them. And
Yeah.
so I quite often will like listen to all these podcasts. So I'm like, oh, I better make sure for other Jasons, I'm putting this out there as an audio thing as well. Thank you
Sweet.
very much. I'd put notes of things I wanted to ask you. Wanted to ask you about the cat. How is your cat, by the way? I know it was not feeling too good.
She's doing good. I have 2 cats, and cats in general have a hard time moving. They're very territorial and like their routines and stuff. So she's just been a little bit stressed, like nothing crazy. But I appreciate you asking. She's just trying to get her settled into the new space. I think there was like other animals that probably lived in in this house before. And so she like smells them, and she'd been crying a lot and, pooping on the floor, things that cats do when they're stressed.
Jake is asking if you missed training because the cat was sat on you.
No, sometimes I procrastinate training because the cat is sitting on me, but eventually it gets done.
Yeah, and when that event shows up at the games, you're saying about the more niche stuff that turns up, and it's like do this workout while keeping a cat on you at the same time.
Exactly.
You'll be an expert. So you just need to get over that semifinals bump and get into the game so you can. All right, excellent. Yep. Well, thank you everybody in the chat. Lovely to hear from you all. Thank you very much, Alison, for joining us. Thank you, Margaux, as well, but you've already headed off. For all the people in the comments who was talking about Grid League, and he's always talking about Grid League, just so you know, on Thursday at 10 p.m. in the UK or 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, we will actually have some from the South Beach Palms joining us, Arta Cabral and Brielle Macchiarelli. There we go. Try those names. So I'll be back here on Thursday if anybody wants to come for that. But Alison, you don't have to. You're free to go. Thank you, everybody. And I think that's everything. We're done. Wonderful.
Yeah. All right.